It was a crisp October evening in Maplewood, a small town nestled in the heart of Ohio. The leaves had turned fiery shades of red and orange, and the air carried the faint scent of pumpkins and bonfires. Maplewood High School, a century-old brick building, stood at the edge of town, its Gothic arches and stained glass windows casting long shadows in the fading sunlight. For decades, the school had been a pillar of the community, but it also held a dark secret, one that only whispered rumors dared to mention. 17-year-old Jake Carter adjusted his backpack as he trudged up the stone steps of the school. It was 6 p.m., and the building was supposed to be empty. Jake, however, had detention again. Coach Miller had caught him sneaking out of gym class to meet his friends at the bleachers, and now he was stuck with an hour of cleaning the old library. The heavy oak doors creaked as he pushed them open, the sound echoing through the deserted halls. The air inside was cold, musty, and thick with the smell of old books and polished wood. Jake flicked on the hallway lights, but the flickering bulbs did little to chase away the eerie feeling that crept up his spine. "Get a grip, man," he muttered to himself, shaking off the unease. He'd been in this school 1,000 times. Sure, the old building had its quirks: creaky floors, flickering lights, and the occasional draft that felt like a whisper. But it was just a school, right? He made his way to the library on the second floor, his sneakers squeaking against the polished tiles. The library was a cavernous room with towering bookshelves, a stained glass window depicting a raven, and rows of dusty tables. A faint chill hung in the air as Jake pushed the door open. The lights were already on, but they buzzed faintly, casting strange shadows across the room. "Okay, let's get this over with," Jake sighed, setting his backpack on a table. He grabbed a rag and started wiping down the tables, trying to ignore the uneasy feeling that someone, or something, was watching him. 10 minutes into his task, he heard a faint scratching sound. He froze, his rag hovering over the table. The sound came again, louder this time, from the far corner of the library. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he turned toward the noise. "Hello?" he called, his voice trembling slightly. "Is someone there?" No answer. Just the scratching, now accompanied by a low, guttural whisper that seemed to echo from the walls themselves. Jake's palms grew sweaty as he took a cautious step toward the sound. The whispering grew louder, forming words he couldn't quite make out. It sounded like a chant, ancient and menacing, rising and falling like a twisted lullaby. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently and went out, plunging the library into darkness. Jake stumbled backward, his heart racing. He fumbled for his phone, turning on the flashlight with shaky hands. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but rows of bookshelves. The whispering stopped, replaced by an oppressive silence that pressed against his ears. "Okay, this isn't funny," Jake said, his voice cracking. "If this is some kind of prank, you're gonna regret it." He swung the flashlight around, the beam trembling in his grip. That's when he saw it. A shadow, tall and impossibly thin, standing at the end of the aisle. Its limbs were unnaturally long, its head tilted at an odd angle, and its eyes glowed a sickly yellow, staring directly at him. Jake screamed, dropping his phone. The flashlight beam spun wildly as the device hit the floor, illuminating the creature for a split second before the light went out. He scrambled to his feet, his breath coming in ragged gasps, and bolted for the door. But the door wouldn't budge. He yanked at the handle, pounding on the wood with his fists, but it was as if the door had been sealed shut by some invisible force. The whispering started again, closer this time, and Jake felt a cold breath on the back of his neck. He spun around, his back pressed against the door, and saw the creature moving toward him. It didn't walk. It glided, its long limbs twitching unnaturally as it closed the distance between them. "Stay back!" Jake shouted, his voice breaking with fear. He grabbed a chair and hurled it at the creature, but the chair passed right through it, crashing into a bookshelf and sending books tumbling to the floor. The creature let out a low, guttural growl, its yellow eyes narrowing. It raised a claw-like hand, and the air around Jake grew colder, the temperature dropping so low that his breath came out in frosty clouds. He could feel the malice radiating from the creature, a hatred so deep it made his stomach churn. Just as the creature reached for him, the door behind Jake burst open, and he fell backward into the hallway. He scrambled to his feet, glancing back to see the creature standing in the doorway, its glowing eyes locked on him. Then, with a sound like 1,000 whispers, it vanished. Jake didn't stop to think. He ran down the hallway, his footsteps echoing in the empty school. He didn't stop until he reached the main entrance, where he found the doors mercifully unlocked. He burst outside, the cold October air hitting him like a slap. He kept running, not daring to look back, until he reached the edge of the school grounds. Panting, he pulled out his phone. Miraculously, it was still in his pocket, and called his best friend, Sarah. "Sarah, you gotta help me," he gasped when she answered. "Something's in the school. It tried to kill me." "Jake, slow down," Sarah said, her voice calm but concerned. "What are you talking about? What happened?" "I don't know what it was," Jake said, his voice shaking. "It was tall, with glowing eyes, and it wasn't human. I was in the library, and it came after me. I barely got out." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Jake, are you sure you're not just freaking out? It's an old school. Maybe it was a shadow or something." "No, Sarah, I know what I saw," Jake snapped. "It was real, and it's still in there. I'm not going back in, but we need to figure out what's going on." Sarah sighed. "Okay, fine. I'll grab Lucas and Mia, and we'll meet you there. But if this is some kind of prank, I'm going to be pissed." "It's not a prank," Jake said firmly. "Just hurry." Half an hour later, Sarah, Lucas, and Mia arrived at the school, their faces a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Sarah, a tall girl with sharp green eyes, was the group's unofficial leader. Lucas, a lanky boy with a knack for tech, carried a backpack full of gadgets, including a flashlight and a small camera. Mia, the smallest of the group, was the resident history buff, always ready with a fact or a theory. "You really saw something in there?" Lucas asked, adjusting his glasses. "I'm not making this up," Jake said, his voice steady now. "It was real, and it was dangerous." Mia frowned, her brow furrowing. Maplewood High has a history of strange stories. Back in the 1920s, there was a teacher named Margaret Holloway who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. They found her diary years later, and it mentioned something about a dark presence in the school. People thought she was crazy, but maybe there's something to it. "Great," Lucas muttered. "So we're dealing with a ghost?" "Or something worse," Mia said quietly. Sarah crossed her arms. "Well, we're not going to figure it out standing here. Let's go in and see what's going on." Jake hesitated, his heart pounding at the thought of going back inside, but he nodded. "Fine, but we stick together, okay?" The group entered the school, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air felt heavier now, the silence more oppressive. They made their way to the library, where the door still hung open, the chair Jake had thrown lying on the floor amidst scattered books. "See?" Jake said, pointing at the mess. "I told you I didn't make it up." Sarah knelt down, examining the books. "These are old," she said, picking one up. "Like, really old. Look at this. It's a journal." She opened the leather-bound book, revealing pages filled with cramped, frantic handwriting. Mia leaned over her shoulder, her eyes scanning the text. "This is Margaret Holloway's journal," she whispered. "Listen to this. It watches me from the shadows, its eyes like burning coals. It whispers my name, promising to take me to a place of eternal darkness. I cannot escape it. The school is its prison, and I am its prey." A chill ran through the group as Mia read the words aloud. Lucas swallowed hard. "Okay, that's creepy. What do we do now?" "We need to find out what this thing is and how to stop it," Sarah said, her voice determined. "Mia, keep reading the journal. Maybe there's a clue." As Mia flipped through the pages, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. The lights flickered, and the whispering started again, louder and more menacing than before. Jake's stomach twisted as he recognized the chant-like rhythm. "It's back," he whispered, his voice trembling. The group turned as one, their flashlights illuminating the far corner of the library. The creature was there, its tall, emaciated form hunched over, its glowing eyes fixed on them. Its mouth opened, revealing jagged, blackened teeth, and it let out a scream that shook the walls. "Run!" Sarah shouted, grabbing Mia's arm. The group bolted for the door, but the creature was faster. It lunged forward, its claw-like hands slashing through the air. Lucas screamed as one of its claws grazed his arm, leaving a deep, bloody gash. Sarah grabbed a heavy book from a shelf and threw it at the creature, giving them just enough time to escape into the hallway. They ran down the corridor, the creature's screams echoing behind them. The school seemed to come alive with malevolent energy. Doors slammed shut on their own, the lights flickered violently, and the air grew thick with the stench of decay. "We can't outrun it," Jake shouted, his lungs burning. "We have to fight it," Sarah said, her eyes blazing with determination. "Mia, did you find anything in the journal?" Mia, clutching the journal to her chest, nodded frantically. "It says Margaret tried to banish the creature with a ritual. We need salt, holy water, and something personal of hers to bind it." "Where the hell are we supposed to get that?" Lucas yelled, clutching his bleeding arm. "The janitor's closet might have salt," Jake said, thinking quickly. "And the chapel on the first floor has holy water." "Let's split up," Sarah said. "Jake and I will get the salt. Lucas, Mia, get the holy water. Meet back here in 10 minutes. They split up, their footsteps echoing in the dark halls. Jake and Sarah raced to the janitor's closet, their flashlights bouncing as they ran. The creature's screams grew louder, closer, but they didn't stop. They reached the closet and tore through the shelves, finally finding a bag of rock salt used for de-icing the sidewalks. Meanwhile, Lucas and Mia made their way to the chapel, a small room on the first floor with a simple altar and a font of holy water. The air in the chapel was icy, and the stained glass windows seemed to glow with an unnatural light. Mia filled a small bottle with holy water, her hands shaking, while Lucas kept watch at the door. "It's coming!" Lucas shouted as the creature's shadow loomed in the hallway. They ran back toward the library, the creature hot on their heels. They met up with Jake and Sarah just in time, the four of them forming a circle in the middle of the library. The creature circled them, its glowing eyes filled with rage, its whispers now a deafening roar. "Mia, what do we do?" Sarah shouted, pouring the salt in a protective circle around them. Mia opened the journal, her voice trembling as she read the ritual aloud. "We need something of Margaret's." "Wait, the journal. It's hers." She placed the journal in the center of the circle and began chanting the words from the page, her voice rising over the creature's screams. Jake and Sarah poured the holy water over the journal, the liquid sizzling as it touched the leather. The creature let out a howl of agony, its form flickering as the ritual took effect. "Keep going!" Jake shouted, his voice hoarse. Mia's chanting grew louder, more forceful, and the creature began to shrink, its glowing eyes dimming. With one final scream, it exploded into a cloud of black smoke, the force of the blast knocking the group to the ground. For a moment, there was silence. The air warmed, the oppressive feeling lifted, and the school felt normal again. The group sat there, panting, their hearts still racing. "Is it over?" Lucas asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I think so," Mia said, clutching the journal. "We did it." They left the school that night, the journal tucked safely in Mia's bag. They never spoke of what happened, but they all knew the truth. Maplewood High was no ordinary school. And though the creature was gone, the shadows still whispered, waiting for the next unlucky soul to cross their path.